Hey everybody, it's Richard S. back with Richard's Vinyl Tap House and another edition of music videos. So this time I'm taking some influence from one and only Glenn Calloway from the basement, who recently did a trio's favorite rock music trios. And I wanted to take a slight spin on it because, we all know that groups like Nirvana were trios, and they are classic and they are wonderful, as are the one and only Rush. I mean, my favorite album, Living Pictures by Rush, they were definitely a trio. But what about some trios that you might not have known about? So, did you know these guys are trios? So, starting off with, did you know Galaxy 500, classic album, On Fire is a trio. They were Dean Wareham and I can't talk today. Damon Krukowski and Naomi Yang were the trio for Galaxy 500. Fantastic album, kind of lo-fi ambient. But no, the songwriting on here is just stellar, as is the production. So check out maybe Galaxy 500 On Fire. What else do we have? How about the group Placebo? Placebo were actually pretty big in the UK, but here in the US, not so much. I've saw them a few times here in Denver, but anyway, I love this album cover, and I love this album too. This is their debut from Placebo, conveniently called Placebo. They were Brian Mulco, Stefan Olsdale, and Stephen Hewitt. Nope, not on this one. It was Robert Schultzberg on drums. So another trio, another fantastic album. I really like Placebo pretty much up until their like mid to late years. And if they came around, I would probably go see them again. So now everybody knows about my love of all things Bob Mould. A couple of things. Did you know that Sugar was a trio, just like Husker Du? Sugar consisted of the one and only Bob Mould and Dave Barbie, who actually worked with Bob Mould quite a lot. And Malcolm Travis was on drums for this one. Sugar, power pop, in the biggest sense of the word. Had a string of really good albums. I would say this is probably the best starting point for if you're interested in checking out Sugar. But we can't mention Sugar without mentioning Husker Du, who were also a trio. Husker Du were Bob Mould, of course, Grant Hart, sadly no longer with us, and Greg Norton, who has since gone on to form a new band called Ultra Bomb, which are really good too. And Grant Hart did some solo projects. Bob Mould is still doing solo projects. And anyway, Husker Du's Flip Your Wig is probably my absolute favorite Husker Du release. They had many. New Day Rising is fantastic too. So another power pop. Now, how about Husker Du's label mates? Did you know that Minutemen, Double Nickels on the Dime, my absolute favorite album from them, were another trio, also on SST, as were Husker Du. This album and Husker Du's Zen Arcade were released on the same day. So two trios who released a classic album on the same day in the punk realm, on the same label. Mind blown. Mike Watt, D. Boone, and I think it was Frank Tonchi on this one, or maybe it was George Hurley. One of the two are on here. Anyway, classic punk. This is a really quirky punk album. Lyrically, it's really interesting how they flesh out a double album. There must be like 30 or 40 songs on this thing. It's an absolute mind blower of a double album. Show you all this. This is a reissue, but and they're pretty easy to come by. But I would definitely have you check them out. Minutemen formed Firehose, also on SST, also fronted by Mike Watt, who is fantastic. So it's Mike Watt, Ed Crawford, and George Hurley. That was what I was looking for. Formed Firehose. Again, kind of continuation of Minutemen with quirky lyrics and just stellar. stellar songwriting. That initial song on here, Brave Captain, is a kind of a classic video from the MTV years. On like 120 minutes is how I got turned on to Firehose. Backtrack to Minutemen, and the rest is history. Another trio. How about some modern day trios? Did you know that Feeder also at least started as a trio? I don't know if there's any additional backing help nowadays. Feeders had more singles in the UK than I care to count. They literally filled a double album with them. If I had Echo Park on vinyl, I would say that would be a great place to start with Feeder. And Feeder were Grant Nicholas, Taka Hirose, and John Lee, who sadly passed in the early 2000s. And but they continue to soldier on. They just released my favorite album from last year, that Black Red album. So Feeder, the singles would be everything you would probably ever want to hear about with Feeder, and they are absolutely stellar trio. A couple more here. I think most people now are familiar with my love of all things Biffy Clyro. I have probably everything they've done. Biffy Clyro are a trio with Simon Neil, Ben Johnston, and James Johnston. Yes, they are twins. How about that? Amazing. Crazy time signatures. Hard-hitting alt rock. I have loved them since this album came out. And it's probably the perfect starting point, but even some of their later stuff, still hard hitting, slightly more mainstream, but their first several albums I absolutely love. Biffy Clyro, check them out. And last but not least, did you know Black Rebel Motorcycle Club were a trio? I know they still are. I'm not sure if they're still recording these days. I haven't seen the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club album in a few years, but they are... Where is it? Peter Hayes, Robert Levon Bean, and Nick Jago. Oh yes, Nick Jago's on their debut album, and then they changed drummers with Leah Shapiro after this. I've seen Black Rebel Motorcycle Club several times. Blues influenced, but heavy-hitting guitar rock, kind of on the fuzzy, psychish side, a little bit of shoegazy pedal work going on. I absolutely love these guys. They put out probably their first 4 or 5 albums are absolutely solid up to about Howl. I think Baby 81 is where I started to kind of go, yeah, maybe not. But anyway, this is their debut album. I saw them in Reading. I think I was Reading Festival when I first saw them back in the early 2000s. Love Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. So, did you know about any of those trios? Do you have any other trios, modern day trios that you think I might be interested in? Hopefully, you might have heard of some of those. If so, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will see you all later. Take care.